PortCorp stepping in the ticker tape maze. Portfolio tenants are making markets feel ablaze. Options on my mind, futures in my sights. Dollar bills pirouette under trading floor lights. Bare claws out, but I'm a matador slick. Charge through the charts, no candlestick tricks. Red or green seas, I'm the captain of the ship. Dividends dripping like a faucet with the drip. Bullish moves, yeah, stacking my gains. From the floor to the skies, breaking market chains. Wall Street Weekly, I'm the king of this beat. Investing with finesse, can't accept defeat. Indexes flex, NASDAQ doing push-ups. Dow winks at me, S&P pulls the hook up. Charts in my pocket, trends on my wrist. Time's money, gotta make it tick, tick, tick. Risk and reward, that's a tango I know. IPO ballroom, watch the revenue grow. Short sellers lurking, but I'm playing the long. Jazz notes and stock quotes that keep me strong. Margin calls whisper, but I don't fold. I'm alchemy, turning lead trades into gold. Bonds in my safe, ETFs on my sleeve. Profit so smooth, you wouldn't believe. This is Wall Street Weekly with PortCorp. Listen deeply, charts bleed reality. Green mixed with red, every ticker got a story, every dollar got a thread. Profits speak softly, losses scream loud. Bull markets whisper, but the bears roar proud. Investing's more than digits, it's decoding minds. Patterns in the chaos, treasures you can find. Eyes wide open, stay sharp and precise. Cause easy money's myth, truth comes with a price. Watch the money flow, truth hidden in disguise. Risk what you know, wealth favors the wise. If you ain't thinking deeper, then your pockets leak weekly. Get your mind right. Get your mind right. Tune in to Wall Street Weekly. With PortCorp, we're making sense of the madness. Truth in the numbers, clarity from the vastness.
Yeah, let me get my mic going. There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wall Street Weekly. We are going to be tuning into the traditional markets here on Wall Street Weekly. I know I've been doing it on Friday. I got the day off today, and I might not have the day off Friday, so we're going to go live on Wednesday instead. So, I hope everyone's been having a great week so far. I know I have been. I've been keeping my eyes on some of those data drops we've been getting and some of those data drops to come. We will be talking about those here in just a second. But I've also got something else very big I want to talk about. I know I teased it last week over on Good Morning Crypto, and I believe I talked about it last Friday as well. But the day is fast approaching for FIGMA's IPO. That'll be tomorrow, and I am looking at throwing a little bit of money at it. It is a big new AI play. They tried to get bought up by Adobe. Looked like there was a little bit of some hampering going on from the European Union because they said that would make them, a little bit of a monopoly. So Adobe had to back out of the deal, and Figma has been flourishing ever since. They do have a lot of new things coming out, and I've been highly interested in it because it makes coding a whole lot easier. But before we get into all of that, we're going to dive into that stock heat map. We've been seeing a little bit of some movements today, nothing too crazy. It's been pretty muted. We've been waiting on that FOMC, which is starting just now. We should be getting that speech from Jerome Powell afterwards. That should be at 2:30 Eastern time. And that's where we're going to get the actual market moves. So if we got the time, we will try to pull that up. But if you got any requests you would like me to take a look at on the traditional side, we can definitely take a look at those. Go ahead, drop them in the chat for me. I'll make a little note on my notepad so we can take a look at those when we get to that portion of the show. I see we've got 29 people over on X. I appreciate all of you for tuning in today. We've got 2 people on YouTube. I appreciate you guys for showing up today. I see Alexander G in the chat like always, so appreciate you tuning on in today. We've got Apple looking to the downside today, down 0.69%. We've got Nvidia up 2.07% right now. Berkshire Hathaway quite neutral, up 0.17. We've got Amazon on the opposite side of that, sitting down 0.19, is seeing a little bit of some sell-off starting to head its way. It was sitting at down 0.16. It looks like it's sitting around those areas for now. We do have Eli Lilly sitting on the upside right now, 0.35. We've got ExxonMobil down 0.64. We've got Tesla also sitting in the red, down 1.25% right now. We've got P&G sitting to the downside as well, down 1.58%. Microsoft looking quite neutral so far, up 0.03. We've got Google sitting up 0.77%, and Meta, to wrap out that big stock, is sitting up 0.03, just like Microsoft is. We'll kind of have to see if we get any big moves here in about 25 minutes when Jerome Powell starts talking. I see a chat over from X. We've got Harrison asking, when will Figma prices be announced? 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. They've already started talking about what prices that they want to go at for the launch. I will pull that up here in just a second. But for those early investors that have that money, right now we are sitting at $23.83 per share. So it's looking like it's going to be around that $23 to $24 range. They did talk about IPOing close to $26, so that's right in that sweet spot for them. They're trying to raise quite a bit of money. While we're talking about it, we might as well just pull that news article right up. Figma targeting $18.8 billion evaluation with the US IPO. Scroll it on down and let's zoom it on in for you so you can see that just a little bit better. Figma has raised its price range for the US initial public offering on Monday and is now aiming for a valuation of $18.8 billion. The design software firm and some of its investors are planning to raise $1.18 billion by selling nearly 37 million shares priced between $30 and $32. Originally, that was supposed to be between $23 and $25. So looking like that might open up just a little bit higher. Right now, it is evaluated at that $23 range. So we'll kind of have to see if we get that stronger move towards the upside with that market open tomorrow. The new evaluation puts Figma closer to the $20 billion deal Adobe had offered them in 2022. Adobe abandoned the deal in December of 23 after facing antitrust issues in Europe and the UK. Investors are responding to companies with credible AI exposure, and Figma has done a good job aligning itself with that theme, said Kat Liu, Vice President at IPO research firm IPOX. Figma reported $228.2 million in revenue for the 3 months ended March 31st, up 46% from the year earlier, and its net income has jumped threefold to $44.9 million. We believe that Figma is the right company to lead the charge into the public markets, given its strong fundamentals and dominant market share in the product management space, said D.A. Davidson's analyst. While the IPO market might have hit a snag earlier with President Donald Trump's introduction of tariffs, it is expected that activities will accelerate soon. Of late, investors have been showing an increased interest in high-growth technology stocks, which is what Figma is a part of. You know, they do a lot of coding when it comes to making applications. They do a lot of AI with that, which is part of why Adobe wanted to pick them up. They make image generation very easy. They also do a lot with photo editing. They also do a lot on that coding side, which is a big push in the technology sector. They're trying to compete with Google and their coding software that's all AI. They're also trying to compete with Microsoft and Copilot. So some big moves from Figma. I do expect them to do quite nicely with their IPO and over the long term. That is why I will be doing some buying of this IPO. Can't really do a whole lot of analysis on the stock other than telling you what the company does and why I think it will do well. We've got Trade Intuition in the chat. Hope you're having a great day so far. Appreciate you being here. If you know Trade Intuition, you should definitely be following him. Let me get that link to his channel. First on the list there. So gonna throw that in the chats for you over on YouTube and on X. If you're not following him, you definitely should be. Man is a great trader, and he loves to explain his thought process, which I really love. If you don't know how to trade or you like trading, this man can help you along your trading journey. If we have any requests for some stocks that you'd like me to take a look at, go ahead, throw them in the chat. We'll get some of that pulled up here in just a second. I did have a few things I wanted to go over, touching on our movements from last week. We had talked about that NASDAQ making those new all-time highs. We have been moving a little bit sideways since then. Not too unexpected. I did say we might see a little bit of some dip in on that price action. We did have this CME gap way down here that we had talked about potentially coming back down to, but it looks like we're just going to move sideways to cool these charts, cool some of these indicators off for now. Let's get this zoomed on out to the daily look, and we've got that 1618 target that we had been looking for, which is that $22,120 price point. We talked about that last week, but we are still looking a little bit overheated here. We are trying to cool those oscillators off with some sideways momentum, which we've been seeing just a little bit. We do have that MACD still residing below our indicator line here. Let me get that moved over so you can see it a little bit better. It is still residing below our indicator line here, moving quite sideways. We do have that bearish divergence that is now stacked up. We talked about potentially seeing that coming our way if we continue to see that upward momentum, which we did see a little bit of in the past day. We've got your money flow still sitting in the green, so we'll kind of have to see if we can cool off some of these shorter term time frames with that sideways momentum, or if we're going to get that little bit of a pullback back down to our CME gap that we talked about last week. Let's get this zoomed on in, take a look at that hourly, see what we're looking at there. We did have that peak seeker flash once we had those highs at that $21,310. Saw a little bit of a rejection there, pulled back to the lows that we were making with that sideways momentum. Before that was at $21,000 and 80 at 21,080. We got some nice little bounce and action off of that, came to the top side of this small little gap that we made there, and we've been moving sideways ever since. We do have that MACD running a little bit hot here. We're remaining on the top side of our zero line, looking to break to the top side of our indicator line, but the big holdup right now is this money flow. Money flow has been in the red for quite a while. It's running out just a little bit. As you can see, this volume has slowed up quite a bit. Not too unexpected as we've been making these all-time highs. I see Melissa in the chat. Good afternoon to you. Hope you've been having a great day. You missed out on that FIGMA announcement. Hope you get to rewind the show a little bit, take a look at that. I'm definitely going to be buying on that IPO. Looking at $23 right now. They're hoping to get to that $30 price point for their IPO. We're kind of just waiting to see what happens at market open. That'll be tomorrow. We've got Bullduck in the chat as well. He said, tired, been a long day, still working in between chill time. Well, hope you have a great work day. Hopefully it's not too much longer and you get to go home, do a little bit of resting, because I know how that goes. I work 12-hour days most days of the week, so it gets pretty exhausting. So have a good day, and hopefully you get home soon and are able to get some rest in. All right, we were going to take a look at this 15-minute real quick, see what we're looking at. We are trying to get back to the top side of that CME gap we had talked about right here. It is a small gap. We're sitting directly in the middle of it right now, looking like we're waiting to see what Jerome Powell says here in about 15 minutes. That might give us our push towards the upside to really close that gap out and then see a little more cool off here. You do have your MACD and prime oscillator looking a little bit toppy here on the 15-minute, starting to get that sideways momentum here on that MACD line. Your prime oscillator also starting to head a little bit sideways, but that's not too unexpected with your volume so low and everyone waiting on the big announcement from Jerome Powell and to see what FOMC is. Let's actually take a brief look over here. Looks like that FOMC decision was no rate change, which, you know, we've been talking about for quite a while. Was not too unexpected. We haven't really been seeing the metrics to push us to a rate change. We do have a little bit of some upside movement on this candle, but we're waiting on Jerome Powell to really push markets in one direction or another here. Let's get over to that S&P 500 because it was making some of the same moves here, getting a little bit of some sideways momentum. We did talk about wanting to hold up a price point at $6,380. We got a little bit of some downside movement below that, took out some of the liquidity that was residing below the lows on those futures market, and now we're sitting above that 6,380 price point, looking like we're trying to hold it as some support right now. We did see a little bit of some wick in action off of that right now, making a little bit of a continued pullback to it, as we're seeing your MACD and your prime oscillator get a little bit of some rollover there. Let's zoom that back out to the daily though and talk about that higher term time frame, because we're looking very similar to that NASDAQ. Hopefully this prime oscillator will load up here on the daily. There it goes. We do have that same bearish divergence here on the S&P 500, not too unexpected as we continue to make those new highs. We did talk about that same possibility happening last week as we continue to make those upside moves, but see the oscillators cool off while doing it. You do see the volume decreasing quite heavily, which might lead to that platinum pocket, which we had talked about last week, being that strong resistance point. We did want to see those oscillators cool off on the shorter term time frame so we could get that continued push towards the upside, wait for a secondary bullish reversal to really try bearish divergence, sorry about that, bearish divergence print, and then we'll see that push a little bit lower. We do have a giant CME gap down here that is yet to be filled, and we've got $6,200, which is our strong support area. So if we do see a little bit of some cool off, we've got a few levels to look for on the bottom side. Let me get this other CME gap pulled up for you so we can take a look at that one as well. That's 6,325 for the top side. We got some nice strong wicking action that really bounced off of that midline before we launched up to this area. So we'll be watching this CME gap in the middle of these two price points. Once we get up to that platinum pocket, that's at $6,436 that we're looking for a little bit of some resistance there. Let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at that hourly looking a little bit better than that NASDAQ was. You can see your oscillators are a little more cooled off here. We're starting to get that sideways momentum as we're sitting under our indicator line. Your prime oscillator getting that curvature back towards the upside, and that money flows in the green on the S&P 500, unlike it was on the NASDAQ. So might see that pushing towards the upside here just a little bit. We do have this CME gap directly above us as well that we're seeing the bottom side come in as some resistance on. Let me get that one drawn up as well. These are those few gaps to kind of watch for. You can see the S&P 500 likes to play off the midline of those gaps, and then you'll see that continuation in one direction or another. I would look for us to potentially get back up to the midline of that in the short-term time frame, which is going to be that $6,393 before we make a decision in either direction. Seeing us getting this curvature back towards the upside here does lead me to believe that we might see that continue up, and we might see that 6,439 price point coming into play here eventually. Let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at the 15 minute looking very like the NASDAQ was, where we're getting that curvature on our MACD, and we're getting that curvature here on the prime oscillator as well. Money flow barely in the green here, and volume is a little bit low, but that's not too unexpected as we do have Jerome Powell talking in 10 minutes now. Let's get over to the Russell 2000, see how those small cap stocks are doing. We talked about this one last week. We'll see if we can get back up to some of those resistance areas we were looking at. That was $2,283. We did see that come in as that strong resistance area. Russell 2000, quite like the S&P 500. Oh, let me get that daily. Don't know why I clicked the 4 hour there. S&P 500 and the Russell 2000 looking a little bit nice for some continued push towards the upside here, as you're getting that sideways momentum here underneath your indicator line. But that prime oscillator does look like it's a little indecisive here. It is getting that sideways momentum. Your volume is a little bit low, so we're just waiting to see if we can get that money flow coming back in on those small cap stocks. We aren't very risk on right now, which is not which we've been seeing a lot in alts as well. If you are in that crypto market, those altcoins not really making those big moves towards the upside, but we are seeing a little bit of some more risk on as people are kind of anticipating a rate cut in September. Have you checked out PVS token on XR Meta? Let's see. PVS. We can definitely take a look at that one. Reversal time, he says. Let's see on that one here in just a second. We can definitely take a look at it. We've got this looking a little bit stagnant as we're seeing that sideways momentum. We've got the hourly also looking like it's a little bit stagnant here as well. We are trying to hold that golden pocket on our fib extensions. We are seeing that MACD run a little bit sideways here, or run a little bit sideways on the prime oscillator as well, as your volume continues to remain low. So waiting to see if we can hold this golden pocket fib extension, try to get back up towards some of that higher 2,200s. We're sitting right smack dab in the middle right now, waiting to see if we can get back up to resistance. Unlike some of those other ones, we did end up closing out this CME gap. So this gap, looking to see a little bit of some bouncing action on top of it. Let me get that pulled up there. We're seeing that midline come into play. Stocks love to play on the midline of those CME gaps and then make a decision in one direction or another. If we can hold that midline, looking back up towards the highs would kind of be what I would keep in mind there. We do have the 15-minute and the rest of the day looking like you might see a little bit of some cool off unless you can get that money flow coming in after Jerome Powell's speech. You do have that MACD waiting to see if it's going to break towards the bottom side of our indicator line here. You do have that prime oscillator sitting in the red. You've got that bearish divergence on the 15-minute, and we're curving back to the downside here, but your volume's still just a little bit low here as well. But like we've been saying, not too unexpected with Jerome Powell's speech here in 7 minutes. So that will be where we're gonna see a little bit of some volume kind of pick up and send us in one direction or another. We do have the CME gap below the bottom side of our golden pocket fib extension, but I would look to try to hold that golden pocket fib extension first. And if you're not able to hold that, coming back down to the lows of the range back at $2,239. All right, let's see if we have any other requests. Collab with Nvidia, Dell, etc. Worth doing your own research. Well, I will definitely dive into that one. And some of my off time, might have to do a show talking about that. But we can definitely take a look at the stock as well. I wanted to take a look at gold. We've been seeing gold getting some battering on that price action. We did talk about that at 236 being that area to kind of watch for. It was our strong resistance here, and then we got some very, very strong sell-off after we were unable to get above the 236. You have a peak seeker indicator that came in when we lost that 236, which kind of leads me to believe we're probably going to come back down to the 382 here, sitting at that $3,248. Maybe see a little bit of some bouncing action above that, and then see if we're going to come all the way back down here. We are getting a little bit of sideways momentum here on the prime oscillator, but that MACD still pointing extremely down here. Money flow barely in the green here. We've been waffling back and forth from red to green, so not too unexpected to see a little bit of some hold up here once we try to come back down to some of these lows. We are seeing a little bit of some upside here, but nothing too crazy. You to get a little bit of some bouncing action. Might see that pull up to the midline of what would be a fair value gap, looking at that 3,312, and then see if we're going to continue to the downside here. Prime oscillator is getting some curvature back up here, but we're not seeing any money flow come with that reversal signal. So that's probably going to be a little bit of a bounce up to some of the lows in the midline of that big fair value gap, and then continuing on down to that 382. You do see that money flow in the red. MACD continuing its downward trend, but seeing it slow up just a little bit. You do see that big red candle printing on the hourly there as well, looking like another lower high. We do have the 15-minute getting that curvature back down here as we're seeing that MACD looking a little bit sideways here. You've got your money flow extremely in the red on the 15-minute. Prime oscillator in the green, but getting that sideways momentum as well. And your volumes looking quite muted. So waiting to see if we can get back down to that 382 would be that move to kind of watch for. I think by the end of the week, we'll probably see that coming into play. All right, we had PVS requested. I see Dylan VA in the chats here. Good afternoon to you, sir. Hope you're having a great day so far. Let's dive on into some of those stock requests. If we don't have any other stock requests, then I can show you some of what I've been doing on the stock side of things, and we can dive a little bit into my portfolio. We had PVS requested, so let's take a look at that. PVS. I believe it was on the stock side. Have you checked out PVS token on XR Meta? Maybe it's a crypto then. PVS, this one. If not, then yeah, you said reversal time, so does look like you might see a little reversal. Maybe this isn't the right one. That's pretty much the only PVS I was really seeing though, unless it is a stock. PVS. Maybe this one, but it's not in the US. So not really seeing what you were talking about there. Pink. Hopefully you can chime back in and let me know exactly what you were looking for. Let's see. We got any alt request or any stock requests here. Not seeing any. I did see in the TradFi section of our Discord over at Piper Academy that someone had brought up a IPO that was going to be coming soon. Let me see if I can find that. IPO AMBQ. So let's see if we can find that. AMBQ. Looking like it is a technology company. It apparently it IPO'd today. Looking like it saw quite a big move towards the upside and then saw a little bit of some cool off here. Let's get this zoomed on in, take a look at the 1 minute here, and then we'll get a fib pulled up from the lows to the highs, see what we're holding there. Held the platinum pocket quite nicely. Looking like you might see a little bit of some continuation as that money flow is in the green and your MACDs remaining above our zero line here. We do have some overbought signals that have flashed, but seeing that 50% line come into play before we see a little bit of some sell-off will be something to watch for. That's coming in at $42.42. Might see that coming a little bit lower. PVS to billions. Probably a crypto there that we're talking about. So let's see what we might see on that 5 minute here. Can't really see too much on that one. So might just have to play that Fibonacci game here on the beginning side. Let's see on a fib extension what we might look for. We've got lows to the high to the lows. Looking like we're trying to hold the 236 on that fib extension there. Let's get that fib retracement hidden. we've got a few targets to kind of watch for. If you can hold that 236 at $40.95, we would want to get back up to that 382, $42.60 there. We're seeing that 1 minute be a little bit toppy here, so might try to look back down towards the highs here, coming in at $40.35 if we don't hold that 236, which it looks like it's trying to hold right now. Waiting to see what Jerome Powell would have gone live right about now. So if you don't hold this 236, looking at $40.32 would be something to watch for. And next targets I would kind of go for is going to be that 382, and then making our way back up to the 50% line on our fib extensions. Dylan VA saying he is speaking. Let's see what we got over there. Jerome Powell speaking. Jerome Powell speech today. It looks like he's talking now. Let's see on the videos. Nope. Here we go. Looking like he's live right now. So we will kind of have to see what kind of price movements we get off of this speech here. Shouldn't go for too much longer though. So just waiting to see what he says. We'll kind of dive into what he said tomorrow on Good Morning Crypto. So if you're following the Piper Academy, then you will hear that. If you follow me on X, we will talk about that there as well. Looks like we might see a little bit of some market movements off of it. Bitcoin continuing in the red there. Let's see what we're looking at on the stock side. Get that stock pulled up. Looks like everything's still a little bit muted right now. Everything that was in the red, everything that was in the green, still in the green here. So nothing too crazy off of his speech just yet. We got any other stock requests here? If not, I will take a look at my portfolio and we will dive into some of what I've been looking at recently. I did have HIMS pulled up. I've been buying HIMS since back in June. We did have another little area I was buying HIMS at, and I was back here in April as well. So I did see some of the lows that were coming on in. HIMS is a very good company. It does provide some medical care. It has been in a giant uptrend since about last year. 2023. I started taking a look at it back last year, and then really liked some of what they've been doing. They do make it extremely easy to order some of their medications. They are extremely affordable as well, and we're pushing back up towards that all-time high on HIMS. We are getting a little bit of some overbought signals here, not too unexpected as we try to make that push back up towards our all-time highs, but we're sitting up 10% today after we got that nice strong bouncing action off of the 236 here. You've got your MACD above our indicator line here, printing very big green candles. You've got your money flow in the green, and volume's just starting to pick up here. So we'll kind of have to see if we can get some continuation of volume on our shorter term time frames that really bleeds over into the higher term time frame. You do have those overbought signals flashing here on the hourly as well. You got that peak seek indicator back when we tried to break above the 236, and then we got that nice strong bouncing action off of the 236. So making our way back up towards those all-time highs back at 72.94 would kind of be something to watch for. We are above this giant CME gap, and we finally closed it as well. So let's get that colored in so we know it is filled in. Got that black background and it is all filled. Would look for a little bit of some pullbacks eventually if we are unable to really get above some of these levels directly above us, coming in at about $68. We did see that be a little bit of a resistance area from back here, and that's where we got our strong wick off of from way back here when we saw some crazy peaks. We've got that running from all the way there. That's going to be $67 and about 3 cents. Let me get that zoomed in a little bit more so you can, yep, $63, $67.03. We've got that wick in action off of it as well, and we're pushing up to it right now. But we're seeing those very hot signals here on the prime oscillator and the MACD as well. Might see another bearish divergence really print here. If we continue to make those moves towards the upside, I would look for a little bit of some stalling action at that. Let's see what the 15-minute might be pushing our way here. Seeing a little bit of some hopium for a continuation as you see that MACD getting a little bit of some sideways momentum here. Your prime oscillator getting that curvature back up, and your money flows just starting to come in here on the 15-minute. So unless Jerome Powell says something absolutely crazy, not like hey, yeah, we're just waiting to see if we get some good jobs, some bad jobs data numbers that push us towards a cut, or hey, we're just waiting to see, which he's been doing this whole time, then I would look for a little bit of continuation up to 67.03. Unless Jerome Powell says something crazy. We will kind of talk about that one tomorrow. We've got 107 people here on X. I appreciate all of you tuning on in. And we've got 5 people here on YouTube, 7 people on YouTube as well. So appreciate all you lurkers in the background as well. Let's take a look at something else that I've been talking about quite heavily on Good Morning Crypto, and that's going to be SMR. SMR continuing to make those moves towards the upside here. We did get that move a little bit towards our CME gap here. We were watching to see if we could get that filled. Looking like we couldn't even get back to the top side of it. We do have very, very strong resistance above us at the 1618 here, and that's kind of what I would look for all over again. Let's get this zoomed back on out. Take a look at that daily there, and this daily is looking extremely toppy. We did talk about that last week, that we would need to see some money flow continuing to come on that shorter term time frame to really get above the 1618, and that's $52.92. We aren't really seeing that money flow on the shorter term time frame. That's bleeding on over into the higher term time frame. We're actually seeing a slowdown of volume. We're seeing a slowdown of that buying pressure as well. You've got your True 7 starting to make those lower highs. You've got that prime oscillator getting that curvature back down as well. But to see that cool off with some sideways momentum underneath the 1618 would be a positive move to really see. And then we start trying to target some of these higher levels up above us. We might need to get a shorter term time frame fib extension pulled up to see what we'd be looking at on the short term time frame. So let's get that pulled on up here. Looking like we're seeing that one line hold quite nicely. We do have $58.65 being a short-term target to kind of watch for, about $58 on the dot there, as I got that bottom side pulled up a little bit better. That's kind of what I'd watch for if we can get above the 1618 on our macro. Let's take a look at this 1 hour, see what we're looking at there. 1 hour does look like you could continue to see a little bit of some pumping action to the top side, but you would need that money flow to come back in, because that prime oscillator and MACD both set to continue towards the upside, but your money flow is sitting in the red here. We did get that reversal signal that flashed, and we got that move back up towards our resistance area. You've got your MACD getting a little bit of some sideways momentum here as your money flow has slowed up a bit and your volume is just starting to increase here. So 15-minute and the rest of the day looking like it's a little bit toppy as well. So this very strong resistance coming in at the 1618 is going to be our battle zone for now. That MACD getting a sideways momentum, Prime oscillator also starting to get a little bit of sideways momentum, but that money flow just starting to get to the green here. Your volume is a little bit low as we get up to the highs at that 1618. So we're kind of going to have to wait to see for the macro if we can get this to bleed over from the 15-minute into the hour, as the volume was just starting to pick up there. Would need that money flow to really start coming in with some strength. Looking like we're starting to make those very equal highs, so to see that taken out, get up to that 1618 would kind of be something to watch for on the short-term time frame, and then potentially coming all the way back down to our gap there. Let me get this gap drawn out a little bit better. That was an old gap there. Let me actually, it was unlocked, so from the lows there to the high there, that's going to be our gap area to kind of watch for. It is still open, as we did break below the midline of it, but never got back down to the bottom side. Bottom side being that $44.54 to really watch for. Top side coming in at $47. So those two price points to kind of watch for. If we can't get above that 1618 and $52.88. All right, let's pull up something else from my portfolio that I talked about over on Good Morning Crypto. It was OKLO. They were a private company and they sold some shares and had a nice strong IPO here. We did bounce off of the platinum pocket, got that stronger move back up. A bunch of my buddies got in at the beginning. We saw a little bit of some sell-off after that IPO. That IPO was way back here. You saw that big, strong gapping action off of it. We bought a little bit down here. We saw some strong sell-off, held that CME gap as some support, and then we got that nice, strong launch off of our golden pocket, turned that platinum pocket into some support, and now we're holding our one line on our fib extensions quite nicely. Let's get this zoomed on out to the daily. Daily is looking a little bit toppy here, but nuclear has been doing quite nicely. So seeing that MACD continue towards the upside of our indicator line, we are seeing that money flow extremely in the green on the daily. Volume a little bit low, but as we've held this 1618, really confirmed that last high as some support, we're continuing towards the upside. Let's get a shorter term time frame fib extension pulled up so we could see what levels to kind of watch for on the shorter term time frame. Looking like you might see that resistance coming in at about $79.17. That's very close to where we saw some resistance last time. That's going to be the one line on our shorter term time frame fib extension. Let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at the hourly here. Hourly also looking like you got that ability to continue towards the upside as your money flow is still in the green here. Your volume's starting to pick back up, and after that bouncing off of that one line, we aren't seeing too crazy selling action come in. We did get some nice cool offs with some sideways momentum here. Saw that nice flagging out action as we made some lower highs and lower lows, and then got that nice strong bounce off of it. Let's actually get that pulled up here, draw that flag out a little bit better. So we've got those lows that we made, nothing too crazy. Let's get that as an actual line, and then we've got our flag in action out here. We did see some breaks above that, but I'm going off of the strong momentum inside of that, and then we've got our line here to go off of to see where we might see some breakout targets as well. So let me get that not extended all the way. Let's see, extend. Nope. There we go. And then we got some targets to kind of watch for as we've broken on out of there. And looking like you might see $90 coming into play if we can continue to see money flow staying in the green on the short-term time frame. Let me get all those deleted out, and that's kind of what I'd watch for on OKLO for the short-term time frame. We do have that top side shorter term time frame golden pocket fib extension coming in at 96.72. We'll kind of have to see if we can get up to that $90 price point first and then continue on up towards those golden pocket fib extensions there. The macro fib extension is coming in at 104.33. All right, let's pull up one other thing I've talked about quite heavily. That's going to be Serve Robotics. And I've been buying all of the lows. I will be doing some more buying coming in here soon, as we've seen that 382 coming in, some strong resistance here. What about QBTS? Was that the one that you had talked about? QBTS. Was that on my list here? Nope, we can take a look at that as well. Let me get that. QBTS. All right, it is on my list, and we'll take a look at it here in just a second. We do see this 382 coming in as some resistance here. Let's get this zoomed on out to the daily, and you can kind of see that daily does need a little bit of some cool off. Your money flow's still in the green. This company makes robot cars for delivering food. They've got a big deal with Uber Eats down in Florida. They've got a few other ones as well. Really waiting to see if we can get these lows kind of swept, where you might see a little bit of liquidity residing underneath it on our futures market. Coming in below $9.97. I would love to lower my entry on this. We did have a little bit of some buying back here that we were doing at the 382, at the 236 when we started our upward trend. I did sell off back here, and then we started buying back in, and we've been buying quite heavily on this. I do like this stock. They've got a lot of upside potential. Let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at that hourly there. Hourly is getting that sideways momentum on your prime oscillator here, and it is sitting in the green, but your money flow is starting to come out a little bit heavier there. So seeing that reversal signal flash and completely get ignored does lead me to believe that you might see that $9 and about 30-cent price point come into play, and that's that 236. After seeing that 382 coming in, some strong resistance. Great buying opportunities on a company that is all about automation. I do love automation. They tend to do quite well, as you have less human elements on that. So they've got quite a bit of reserves as well. So that's something that does lead me to believe that they can be doing quite nicely after you get some of these orders actually filled. They are still waiting to fill that order from Uber Eats down in Florida, and do some test running down in Florida as well. You do see the 15-minute looking a little bit toppy here. You've got a peak seeker that flashed way back here when you saw that nice little bouncing action after some reversal signals. You've got a lot of bullish divergences here as well on the 15 minutes, but money flow is extremely in the red here. So looking like you might see those lower targets and some good buying opportunities coming on in. All right, we had QBTS requested. So let's get over to that QBTS. D-Wave Quantum. All right, let's take a look at this one. Never taken a look at it before. So let's see what we're looking at here. Some nice big gap in action. Looking like a very, very nice trend towards the upside. You are looking a little bit toppy here. Let's get that on the daily. It is looking a little bit toppy there. Getting a little bit to an area where you might need to see some cool off. You've got that big CME gap below us that might need to get filled, and that's a decent buying opportunity as well. Top side looking like a very nice support area to kind of watch for, $17.41. You did make a bit of a higher high here. You've got those you've got that CME gap being that nice real buying opportunity to come on in, and if we can't hold it, we'd have to look for some of the lows back here, which not too much lower than that. That's coming in at about 11-ish dollars for the top side, and then about $10.50 for the bottom side. Let's get those horizontals drawn out so we can see them a little bit better. You've got your top side being that $11.43. You've got that lower range coming in at $10.52, where you saw all of that resistance. Also got some nice strong bouncing action off of it before we made these moves back towards the upside. Let's see on a fib what we might look for here. It is in a bullish trend, so let's get that fib extension pulled up here. You've got your lows to the highs to our lows here, looking like that platinum pocket was a little resistance area, and that's where that CME gap starts. Did not make our way all the way up to that 1618 at $21.57. So that'd be that next real upside target to watch for after a little bit of some cool off here. Let's see if we can see something here on the shorter term time frame, because money flow's still in the green here. You're getting some topping indicators though, so let's see what the hourly's showing us. Hourly looking like you might see a little more cool off, so I'd be looking for some buying opportunities coming into play. That's going to be that 1528 for the top side of that CME gap. That's an area to kind of watch for, as we are making that lower. That was a little bit of a lower high here, and looking to kind of break trend. You are seeing a lot of selling pressure coming on in, and your money flow just got into that selling range here on the hourly. So seeing that curvature on our prime oscillator, you're getting that curvature as well on the MACD. Let me get that zoomed in a little more so you can see it. Getting that curvature on the MACD, breaking below our indicator line, and we're well below our zero line as well. So not unexpected to see some sell-offs after some all-time highs, people taking profits. Let's get the 15-minute looked up, and looking like you're close to seeing a little bit of some bottoming. You did get this CME gap filled from right here. Waiting to see if we can at least hold the lows back here at 1680. Let me get that drawn up as a shorter term time frame bouncing area. Let me get these drawn in as some stronger support lines. There we go. And that one as well. You've got those being our very strong support areas to kind of watch for, back down at those $10.48 and $11.43. But first, we would need to see that price action at $16.84. That was where we saw some very nice support here before we made our CME gap, which we just closed with this downside action. You do have this big CME gap directly below us. That'd be that next thing to watch for, as your money flow remains in the red here on the 15-minute and is starting to get that curve back down here. So just looking for some continued sell-off and some buying opportunities would be my thoughts on this, especially after all-time highs. Let's see what that weekly was looking like there, see what the macro might really be sending our way. Very indecisive here. So you've got some nice little double topping action that might send us back down on the weekly. You've got a very, very big bearish divergence on the weekly as well, but your prime oscillator sitting with some sideways momentum. Money flow still in the green, but it is looking at that indecisive point. So we'll have to follow that short-term money flow after a nice little double topping action on your macro. Might look to close this CME gap here on the higher term time frame at that $13.04 for the bottom, and the top side being that 1520. Would look to kind of close that out, really confirm this platinum pocket as some strong support. You did see that golden pocket being a little bit of a resistance area. and then we got that strong move through the platinum pocket. So I would like to see a little bit of some price action on that platinum pocket after some double topping. If you don't hold the platinum pocket, that $11.43 would be that price to watch for. It is almost 2 o'clock here, and I've gone for about an hour. So I will see y'all at the next Wall Street Weekly. And if you aren't tuned in to the Piper Academy, you definitely should be. And we do a lot of good work there. That is more focused on the crypto side of things. So let me get that link for you. So you can tune on in to the Piper Academy. That's where I go live weekly, or not weekly, every day. So we also have 2 other shows that we do. That's going to be our morning market report and Trading with OC, a great place to do some learning, and if you like to trade, a great place to have some fun. Let me get that link shared for you there in my chats. We've got that for you there on X as well. So I will see y'all tomorrow morning. If you follow the Piper Academy, it is bright and early, but we like to get that pre-market really handled. And then we've got that morning market report with Piper. He does a great job breaking down your data. So after you tune in to me, hear that nice breakdown of the FOMC, Piper will do that deeper analysis on the FOMC and Jerome Powell's speech. Looks like Jerome Powell's talking about job numbers right now, which, is quite expected. That's going to be a metric to really watch for, to see those cuts. And we've got Trading with OC at 8 p.m. every weekday. So if you like to trade, that is the place to be. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you at the next one.
This is Wall Street Weekly with PortCorp. Listen deeply, charts bleed reality. Green mixed with red, every ticker got a story, every dollar got a thread. Profits speak softly, losses scream loud. Bull markets whisper but the bears roar proud. Investing's more than digits, it's decoding minds. Patterns in the chaos, treasures you can find. Eyes wide open, stay sharp and precise, cause easy money's myth, truth comes with a price. Watch the money flow, truth hidden in disguise. Risk what you know, wealth favors the wise. If you ain't thinking deeper, then your pockets leak weekly. Get your mind right. Get your mind right. Tune in to Wall Street Weekly. With PortCorp, we're making sense of the madness. Truth in the numbers, clarity from the vastness.